Cool. Okay, so we're going to be doing a presentation here, starting right about now, so you guys can get off and look at your other delegates and things that you want to see. What I'm going to be doing is a presentation of Storyline 2, so if people are interested in me yelling at them for the next little while, then you can hang around. Otherwise, you can grab some tea and coffee and enjoy some Lamingtons. So my name is Ben. I'm from Be Online Learning. I'm just going to be doing a presentation for the next 5-10 minutes on Storyline 2, which is the product we use for content development. At Be Online Learning, you'll see from the signs around here, we handle content development. We also train people in how to develop best practice content. And one thing we have at the moment actually is the eLearning Megastar Bundle, which bundles together licensing and training, as well as support in developing that sort of e-learning content. What I want to talk about quickly though is just how Storyline, the articulate content development tool, supports the development of content. And it supports really the key areas for content development. They are things like instructional design, graphic design, navigation, interactivity, interoperability, content theming, and user experience. Okay? So to look at those different things and what they are, so instructional design, obviously where you get source content and you have to rearrange that so it suits an online audience. In this case, we have some Greek. When we apply instructional design to that, we find out that it's actually a recipe for how to boil an egg. Okay? It's taking that content and pushing it out to a way that your audience can actually understand. Is the instructional design. Storyline supports that. We'll see that in a little bit more shortly. Graphic design. We have the basic idea of what people want to see, but it's you taking that idea and then pushing it out, fleshing it out, so it actually becomes something that's living and breathing and fit for the audience. And when we're talking about content development, it really does come back down to the audience, and I'll see that when we see some examples coming up. You also need to be able to do navigation through your e-learning content. Navigation that goes in a number of pathways. Not everyone wants to see linear, not everyone wants to have a branching experience of their content either. Interactivity as well. You want the users to be able to engage with your content, because it's that engagement that keeps people in the content, keeps them learning and keeps them focusing on what you want to see and what they want to see and how they can get their learning outcomes. So when we talk about interactivity, we want to be able to touch the screen and organise different elements so that the interactivity that we can use in Storyline allows us to do a whole lot more of stuff. I should say, by the way, this presentation is Storyline, what we're looking at the moment. Of course, you also want to have interoperability, where you can serve your content out on multiple devices, multiple streams, whether that's PC, laptop, mobile devices, or Walkman. Also, you need to have content theming as well. So, I mean, these are obviously examples of advertising companies which are probably really into getting that content theming right. They're really focused on their audience, but e-learning is no different. You have to know your audience, you have to know what they want in order to be able to give them content that is going to be relevant towards them. Okay? And then finally, where are we, Mr. Mouse? All of that bundles together and provides a user experience. Okay? And it's the user experience that gets the users talking, gets them to talk about your content, really gets them to appreciate what you're trying to provide by way of an experience and by way of transfer of information. A dull experience means that they just click next, 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 next and get out. An engaging experience means that they can go through the content and then come out of that with their attitudes refined or changed or new skills provided. I'm just going to quickly show you 3 examples of some different content we've built for different clients that talks to some of those different themes. The first of those is a piece of content for AMWA, which is a group in Western Australia. They were building a piece of content that talks about mental health in the workplace. In terms of the content design, it's pretty straightforward, but they did have some specific requirements about theming of their content and how the content worked. So for example, for a mental health awareness course, their theming and design and colour schemes didn't need to be dark or oppressive or add to the stigma that is already around mental health. Similarly, the language used didn't want to add to that stigma, and a lot of this course is trying to remove the stigma around mental health and how people perceive mental health in the workplace. And actually the course design goes a little bit further than that when I go actually into the course itself. The course starts off with a quiz, which is a blanket quiz which asks you different questions about what is your opinion about mental health in Australia across these different areas. It doesn't give you immediate feedback as you go through the questions. Once you get to the end of the quiz, it's tabulated your results and says, okay, well, you've got good mental health awareness, or you've got poor mental health awareness, or you've got average mental health awareness, and then the course takes you through some different subjects, and at the end, you get to reset the questions in that quiz to say, has your opinion changed? Do you still think about these different topics? When we look at the quiz itself, it's pretty straightforward sort of questions. The majority of people who experience mental health problems for the first time do so in a certain age group. Okay? I'm not going to go through all the questions specifically with you, but we go through and we answer those questions according to what we think. And then when we get to the end of the question set, okay, the quiz result indicates that your mental health awareness will be significantly improved by this course. So obviously I haven't got many of those questions correct. When I get then to the end of the content, what I'm going to see is the same quiz. The questions that I've got correct are saved. The questions that I've got incorrect, it gives me another chance at looking at those. So, and the idea is the content in the middle removes that stigma around mental health and the different concepts. So we go through the content. It involves different video elements and those sorts of things of actual people who have gone through that sort of experience. Okay, and I'll just click through to the end. How to get help. And then finally takes me back into the quiz and says, okay, you've done your quiz. I'll click on to the next one. Okay, I scored 0 points for my quiz the first time I went through, and then what it's going to do is add a layer to say I can go in and review my questions, or I can repeat the quiz and then see if my attitude has changed based on the content that I've seen in between. That was obviously the cut down version. A different sort of theming that we can achieve with Storyline, and this is something we did for South Australian Water, is where you have a large section of content and the different content talks to different groups within the company, and you might want to have graphic design elements that speak to those groups, and South Australian Water did. And in fact they have got a colour scheme that works for all the different groups. And so what we've done is designed all of their content but put it into a template in Storyline where we could easily change out the different colour schemes. So when I'm talking to Group A, they see their blue colouring, Group B, pink colouring, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just to give you some examples of the screens that were in there. So you can see the screen design generally is the same, but very much the colouring as we go through changes depending on the different groups I'm in. So orange was the HR section, purple I think was their road workers and the people working out in the field. Pink was their IT area, a very good colour for an IT area. Okay, blue for, can't remember what the blue area was, but you can see there's very similar sort of content, but the colour theme just gives you an immediate portrayal of this is the area I belong to, this is how I do that. Now, in Storyline itself, I think we've got a couple more examples. So a different area, screen design there. In Storyline itself, we can control that colour theming in one place. It's in the Slide Masters under the theme section. All I have to do is change one setting in here and I can get exactly the same look and feel, of course, but a completely different colour theme that goes across all of my slides. So that way you can build out one course, change the content around, put a switch over in the background, and you get an immediately different look and feel across all of your other content screens, which makes content development amazingly quick and easy, which is fantastic. Last thing I wanted to show you is just one other course that we have set up. This is for Lion. This is a project management course. We've only just recently finished this for them. It's got a lot more graphic elements to it, so you can see in the background the browser window actually has graphic elements added as well, so you're not just restricted to the content screen. We've got animated characters, we've got our animated text in there as well. Yes, hello. Okay. I'll just click through. The last thing I wanted to mention with this particular course as well is that idea of adaptive navigation. It's got video. Once you get to a specific part of this course, though, it says, okay, what role do you need to fulfill? And it allows you to choose a pathway for that role. And it has 3 broad pathways. On top of that, if I select a specific pathway, it then takes me immediately into a survey. Based on the survey responses I put in here, and this is just a survey using the Likert scale, it'll say, okay, we'll give you these screens of information because that's important to you. We won't give you these screens because they're not as important to you, but they're accessible via a different menu function. So it really makes that concept of adaptive navigation through the course a lot more fluid for the user, because I've chosen my role. Now I can actually say what's important to me in my role, and I can move through the content based on those decisions. So I can go and select, and I'll just go a random selection here. Hit submit. Okay, and now it's adapted the courses or the sections of the course that I'm going to see based on those selections. Cool. That's basically all I wanted to show you guys. Had a very limited time. Thank you for staying around and having a look. If you have any other questions, or if you want to grab a brochure or a chocolate that looks like butter or some mints, just feel free. Thanks. Woo.